What is your funniest tripper story? When I was 15, I ran away from home with my friend, both females. We stopped into a sleazy bar and asked the owner if he would hire us as strippers. Instead of throwing us out on our asses, he took the time to explain that it wasn't a great job, because the girls had to travel around a lot. When I was 18, it was student night at this club on Wednesday, so myself and like 7 or 8 others went in, and of course the ladies were looking rough. Except there was this gorgeous tiny girl making all the money. A buddy got a lap dance in one of the booths, and as he is getting it, this monstrous woman storms through the front door and starts looking around frantically, spots the girl's back and walks over. We're all sitting there like, what the frick is about to happen? The woman politely waits for my friend's dance to be completed. He gives her the tip and the tripper turns around and gives the best holy shoot face I have ever seen. Turns out it was the girl's mom, and the tripper was in fact only 16. Needless to say, insanity ensues for a good 45 minutes to an hour. Police show up. Of course the manager is freaking out. She used 2 fake IDs and someone else's birth certificate to get the job. The shouting back and forth between all the parties involved was mind-numbingly absurd, including the police officer, who I swear had an IQ of 9 and couldn't understand what was going on. Best $4 entertainment I ever had in Lexington, KY. Got a dance from a tripper in a cage. She somehow managed to get her leg through the bar and up onto my shoulder, but couldn't pull it back in. Then it got caught in my hair. It took 2 bouncers and another guy to untangle us. Very unshrexy, but we were laughing like little girls by the end of it, and I gave her a $20. My husband, our lesbian friend, and I all went to a dive of a trip club called Nikita's in Spartanburg, SE. This place let you bring your own beer, which we brought in a giant hobo purse. Nikita's was a dump, and the trippers weren't anything to look at either. So we ended up just sitting and talking to one of the nicer girls. Her stage name was Opry. We gave her some of our hobo purse beer, and after an hour or so of talking, it was her turn to dance. She asked if we had any requests, and my husband asked her to do the worm. This girl climbed up on stage wearing only her heels and flopped around on the floor to some Marilyn Manson song, much to the confusion of the other patrons and her co-workers. I wouldn't say it was the most accurate portrayal of the worm I have ever seen, but it was definitely the best. My friend had a wheelchair at his house, because he found it on sale for like $10 at a yard sale. We would always just roll around and drunkenly attempt tricks and shenanigans at parties. Anyway, we had a couple trippers come over for my friend's birthday. Since the couches were full, my buddy was lounging in the wheelchair. Thinking nothing of it, the tripper gives him a lap dance and a lot of special attention. Once she gets up and starts on another lap dance, my buddy gets up to go get another beer from the fridge. The tripper yells, "You can walk," to which I shout, "It's a tripper miracle," while my buddy gets this huge grin and does a little jig into the kitchen. One of the most hilarious things to happen at that house. The power of tripper magic. Years ago, while tree planting in northern Ontario, an arduous, shooty job, we hit the Trip Bar on our day off, the only bar in town. It converted to Trip Bar for a few hours every Thursday. We got drunk and watched the show from Pervert's Row. Later that night, my friend started complaining about a pain in his eye. It got so bad that the next day we needed to bring him back to town to see a doctor. It turned out he had a crab stuck in his eye, presumably from the tripper, and had to have it flushed out. His nickname for the next 4 years, possibly forever, was Krabby. I got a lap dance from a girl, and at the end she asked if I wanted her to squirt me. I said yes, and she pinched her tea and fired warm nipple milk all over my face. The local club has amateur night where girls get on stage for 60 seconds and compete for $500. 2 of my lady friends and I decide that this would be a hilarious way to spend a Thursday evening. One of the girls is a 4-foot-tall Asian who couldn't dance her way out of a wet paper bag. She got up on stage, did the running man, then slid onto her knees screaming ARGHH while ripping off her shirt. She won $500 and paid for her grad school applications. It was my best friend Mike's 18th birthday. About 8 of us decide to take him to the Trip Club. Of course, we tell him not to worry about bringing any money. We would all pitch in for his dances. He spends most of the night trying to figure out who he wants his private dance from. He finally lands on the hottest, sassiest bitch in the place, named Peaches. She walks him to the back, and we give him $75 for 3 songs. We were all have a good time, and after a while, Mike comes back. He looks ecstatic, and he sort of runs over to our table. I think he is going to say something like, "Guys, that was freaking awesome." Instead, he says, "Guys, I owe Peaches $150. I guess he just didn't leave. And then finally realized that he was racking up some charges. Also, 2 years later, we found out Mike was gay. A tripper in Victoria, BC took my iPhone out of my hands and proceeded to rub it all over her naked body, including her VJ on stage. I had to sanitize it. I'm so glad I get to share this story. On his 21st birthday, my friends and I took our friend Jeff to the Trip Club to celebrate. Classic. We were enjoying the night, drinking a little, lot, too much, and really just having a good time celebrating together. Like everyone else who celebrates their birthday at a Trip Club, we bought Jeff a lap dance. The tripper had these huge knockers that she made sure to incorporate in her routine, motorboating him, and, in the process, she breaks his nose. It was a pretty shocking thing to see, and we were shortly kicked out, because your friend bled all over our tripper. God times. I was a DJ at a little hole-in-the-wall Trip Club on the border of Wisconsin and Michigan's Upper Peninsula. We had different dancers each week who would come in from out of town. One week we got a pair of ghetto skanks who came up from Chicago. The dressing room for the girls was down in the basement, but there was no bathroom down there, so they had to come upstairs to use the can. Well, later that week, I discovered that these dirty itches didn't like to walk their asses up the stairs, so they had been pissing and shooting into a wastebasket all week. It was filled up to the rim with human waste. Not only that, but they got into a fight another one of the girls, so they took her keys and threw them into the shoot basket. I once ordered a pizza when one of my tripper friends was hanging out with me. I realized I only had enough cash to pay for the pizza, not enough to tip, so she answered the door and paid for it in nothing but a thong. Pizza guy turned red and avoided eye contact while smiling and saying "wow" a lot. Pretty sure it made his day. Not my story. Some of my guy friends decided to get a bit drunk one night and head out to a Trip Club. Upon arriving they drank even more, to which point one of my good friends apparently came within inches of puking on a young lady while she gave him a lap dance. Our friends quickly rushed him to the bathroom, where he proceeded to hurl violently for a few minutes. During this time a man enters the bathroom, quickly surveys the scene of my friend ralphing everywhere, and without skipping a beat remarks, "Yeah, that's some nasty ass pussy out there," then about faces and walks out. One of my biggest regrets in life is that I wasn't there to high-five him. We took in my opinion to a Trip Club for my sister's bachelorette party. Picture 8 rowdy late 20s, early 30s girls who had been drinking Jello shots and tequila all afternoon. We sat next to the stage, yelling and throwing money. One of the dancers, on her hands and knees, backed her naked butt up a little too close to one of the girls, who we'll call S, who responded by winding up and smacking her on the ass like a boss. The tripper, unfazed, flipped over, wrapped her legs around S and rubbed her snatch in S's face. I fell off the chair laughing as she bolted for the bathroom yelling, "I need to wash off the syphilis." A number of years back, when Houston was going for the Houston 500 and promoting the hell out of herself, she did a night at the local gentleman's club near my town. So the night goes on and we sit down and watch the show, and she had the lights off and black lights put on. She walks to an inflatable pool and begins to pour milk all over herself, and it was pretty Shreksy. She then walks out into the crowd with a gallon of milk and picks my friend up by the chin with one finger. She is flirting, walking around him slowly, really getting the crowd going. She then stands in front of him, grabs the waist of his pants, pulls forward and proceeds to pour the entire gallon of milk down his pants. She then tossed the empty container into the crowd and reached down and grabbed his junk while he was giggling. She then pushed him back into his seat and continued the show. Needless to say, we were all going crazy and he looked like he just had a religious experience. We called him 2% for about a year after that. I rarely go to strip clubs, but one time I was there with several other buddies and one of the girls came over to me and sat down. I wanted to show her without being rude that I didn't want to dance, so I turned away from her slightly and didn't show any interest. She kept turning towards me, touching my leg, etc. Eventually, despite my best efforts, she started talking to me and kissed my cheek a few times even though I clearly wasn't interested. My friends were all now watching this, as when I sat down I was alone. She then asked me to buy her a drink, to which I said why would I do that? She looked a little surprised, but then said she wanted a drink, but that she wasn't allowed to drink while she was on her shift. I told her that if she gave me money I would go buy her a drink. So my friends witnessed me sit down, have a stripper sit next to me and obviously take a lot of interest in me despite my best efforts to show I wasn't interested. Then watch her proceed to reach into her garter belt to grab a bunch of cash and hand it to me. I was dating a stripper/server at the Drake. My brother didn't believe me, so I invited him out for lunch. She didn't know I was there until she was on stage. She stopped mid-dance, smiled and waved. "Hi Martin." My brother laughed and called me an a-hole. Took my drunk friends to a strip club that I didn't feel like going to. One of them paid cover for me, so I sat down next to them and watched one of the TVs. Stripper notices I look disinterested, offers me a lap dance. Drunk friend notices this, tells stripper I don't like strip clubs, because I was sexually assaulted by a dildo-wielding stripper when I was younger. Stripper is mortified, offers me free services. I play along and start pretending to cry. Soon, about 5 strippers surround me telling me they'll take me to the VIP room for free. I yell I bet you're all waiting for me with dildos, and run out of the strip club laugh crying while the whole establishment looks on in amazement. Friend ends up getting free services instead, lap dances or whatever.